Yes, you know what? I will note all these questions and I will ask them later on.
It's going to have a Canadian flair for sure.
All right. Sports. Live.
Do you guys even know where Vancouver Island is? It's not even close to Toronto. Okay, let's get things going.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. This is the Unnamed Sports Show on the Sports Talk Line Network. I am your host, of course, Joshua Griffith. We had a big week in the world of sports with the English Premier League starting up again this week. NBA laying out groundwork for their format in Orlando. The NHL and the Buffalo Sabres fired seemingly everyone this week. Also, we're getting closer to naming the hub cities in the NHL. The PGA Tour crowned a champion on the weekend for their last tournament, and they have one kicking off starting today here. So, the Whitecaps were once again making headlines for all the wrong reasons. So I'm getting some feedback here that I'm hearing in my ear. That's okay. I thought it was from my end, but it's not. I think it's been taken care of right now. So. Yeah, so what I was getting at, the Whitecaps are making headlines for all the wrong reasons. And I was hoping to have CEO Axel Schuster join me today, but he is busy after, I don't know, probably more emails and phone calls that I've ever made trying to get somebody on my show. But he was busy, so he'll hopefully join me in weeks to come, but I think it might be a little bit too late by then. Also, this show, I'm really happy I'll be joined by Rick Dhaliwal from TSN. And we're going to be talking about the Canucks free agency news, what's going to happen with some of their restricted free agents, RFAs, and some of the players in Utica, like Reed Boucher and things. We'll get to that just after 3:15 with Rick. And then I will be joined by Peter Zimmerman from the Vancouver Southsiders. He is president of the supporters group. And we're just going to kind of just chit-chat about how things are going in a supporters landscape, because it sounds like, and if anyone's looking, there's a little bit of, there's some unrest going on right now on Twitter. So I seem to be running out of time because I take too long with the intros and the openings before my guests, and I don't get to break down enough of the sports. So I'm going to get right pitter-pat into that right now. The Major League Baseball almost look to have some kind of light at the end of their long, horrible, scary, burning, spider-infested, booby-trapped tunnel when Commissioner Rob Manfred and Executive Director from the MLB Players Association, Tony Clark, actually sat down in person. But there wasn't, and to cue up the graphic that I wanted last week, but I didn't tell you about Lee, that still applies to Major League Baseball today. Yeah. That's right, folks. We're still looking at a dumpster fire. It's hard to look away from a burning dumpster, especially when it keeps putting out proposals. And the MLB has just continued to put out proposals. We had another one actually this morning. ESPN's Jeff Passan reported that a 60-game schedule with a full prorated salary and an extended playoff format, that was rejected. We'll wait and see on a counter proposal again, and maybe we'll see some MLB this year. So I send my show's draft off to the producer a couple hours before I actually do my show. And then I got a message back a little bit after from one of them, Rado, and said, what do you mean 60 games? I thought there was a 70-game proposal. So yes, Rado, I told you sports is ever changing, so I kind of have to change on the fly. The MLB Players Association countered just shortly ago with a proposal, and for a 70-game season, Bob Nightingale reported Rob Manfred is kind of confused about everything. He was kind of wondering why him and Tony Clark even sat down in the first place. He kind of thought that they were figuring out all of the details for an MLB season when they sat and met, but things continue to be a dumpster fire. So, hooray, MLB. MLS news. We got a lot to talk about from Major League Soccer, more specifically just here in the local Vancouver area. I'm going to get a ton more into that later with my guest. And like I said, I was hoping to be joined by somebody from the Whitecaps, but didn't happen today. They were quite happy to give me a player or a coach or somebody for an interview, but I didn't really see the point in asking how things were going on the pitch when things off the pitch are going so terribly. So, like I mentioned earlier, Peter Zimmerman is going to join me from the Vancouver Southsiders supporter group, and we're just going to kind of talk about I don't know. I don't want to mention it. There's like a hashtag going that's a sell the Caps. So things are not looking good for Vancouver Whitecaps. And to think I could have been talking right now about the groups the Whitecaps are in. Could have been saying, oh, well, how do they match up against the Seattle Sounders or FC Dallas or San Jose Quakes? Are they going to finish first or second? But no. When do I get what I want, right? So the NBA has come out with a very detailed 113-page novel that I have not read. Sorry, I've glanced through a little bit of it to get some of the fun points for down in Orlando. They are pretty much going to get everything. They will get magic wristbands that will allow them access to their hotels and all of the rides. Restricted areas, not rides. They have this is one of the ones I find really funny. They placed all of the top seeded teams in a really high-end hotel, the Grand Destino, while the second tier team will be at the Grand Floridian, and the bubble teams will be staying at the Yacht Club. The Yacht Club doesn't sound that bad to me, but apparently it's not nearly as nice as the Grand Destino. So it's interesting that the NBA decided to go along those lines. So with all of that, the NBA players will have access to a ton of fun stuff. They will have a players-only lounge. They will have access to gaming. They'll have access to TVs. There'll be players-only pools. There'll be trails. There'll be barbers, manicures, pedicures. They can request hair braiders. There'll be 24-hour concierge. Anyone familiar with what a concierge is, I don't know how that will help them. I mean, housekeeping, maybe room service, but concierge, they're not allowed to go anywhere. That doesn't really help them. They'll have daily entertainment. They're going to have movies, DJ sets, ping pong, video games, pool, lawn games, ping pong. Yeah, I know I mentioned ping pong. I was really excited to get to play ping pong, and I also thought that was funny that they mentioned it. But a lot of athletes actually play ping pong, which is weird. Down at the Whitecaps camp in San Diego, they had ping pong tables set up, and they just flocked to it. So this was all reported Wednesday by Sham Shararia. So you know it's going to be good stuff. There's also going to be a lot of stiff protocols in place for the players, and failure to do so will result in warnings, fines, or even suspensions. The league has also set up a hotline to call to report players who are not following social distancing protocols or adhering to the protocol set up by the league. So I guess if some of the MLS players see LeBron not following protocol, they're going to phone the hotline. I don't know how that one's going to work, or if other players are going to rat on them. I mean, if they're going to be secluded from people, which you would think, there wouldn't be anyone to rat on them. So move along to the NFL and a little bit of CFL news. And now I know Nate, Spinksy, and Van, you guys should be pretty excited right now because I'm going to talk some Dallas Cowboys on my show. That's right. Ezekiel Elliott tested positive for COVID. Thankfully, he's recovering well, according to sources and things out there. But yeah, that's it. That's it about Dallas Cowboys. That's all I got. Sorry, guys. If you were hoping for more, no, not on this show. You guys got your own show. No. If the NFL thought things were kind of just going to go smooth and free throughout everything and go into their season in September, Dr. Anthony Fauci kind of dropped a big bomb on them and said that when we have a second wave, or when it comes to something like that, that the NFL is going to need to have protocols and plans in place for when they want to get back going. In regards to football up north of the border, the Canadian Football League, they're still trying to figure things out in regards to what is the most cost-effective plan to was a bad slip up. Cost-effective plan. The adopt the CFL program looks something that's pretty interesting to me. Having some of the East teams come over to the West. It seems like there's no real reason to play right now unless the CFL can get fans in the seats, as it's a really, really gate-driven league. Randy Ambrosia actually addressed that in a statement that he gave on Thursday, that they're trying to work out something, but they're very optimistic, but they're going to want fans back in. Coming into golf, the RBC Open and PGA Tour, the RBC Heritage Open from the Harbortown Golf Links is underway Thursday, and Ian Poulter and Mark Hubbard are your co-leaders after one round. They're tied at 7 under. Mackenzie Hughes is the top Canadian in the field, sitting at 2 shots back at 5 under. So any of you golf fans, make sure to check that out over the weekend. I know last weekend I enjoyed a little bit of watching golf. This weekend, I would hopefully like to get out and play some golf, because I don't really have to have my ring light set that high today, because it is absolutely gorgeous out on Vancouver Island. So we have a lot of soccer news besides MLS. Bayern Munich, congratulations to them. They clinched their 8th consecutive Bundesliga title on Tuesday with a 1-0 win against Werder Bremen. Congratulations to them. Alphonso Davies, that's 2 titles now in a year and a half. So good for the Roadrunner. The English Premier League is back underway, and Aston Villa and Sheffield United played a very sloppy 0-0 draw. The other game saw Raheem Sterling give Man City the 1-0 lead 2 minutes into stoppage time in the first half, before David Luiz was given a red card and gave up the penalty on a really clumsy foul on Riyad Mahrez. De Bruyne calmly put it in the back of the net on the penalty, made it 2-0, and then they closed it out right at the death there with the third goal to end it. So that means that Liverpool is going to have to wait for their inevitable title, which we know will come, but they won't be able to clinch it against Everton on the derby here. Coppa Italia happened on Wednesday, and Napoli was able to hold Juventus to a draw 0-0 in the second leg, which meant penalty kicks, and Alex Merritt was able to stop Paolo Diablo from the spot, and Napoli took it 4-2 on penalties for the crown. And now we'll get to see some Serie A matches, so hopefully I can see a better performance from Cristiano Ronaldo than what we saw in the Coppa Italia final. La Liga is actually happening right now. Real Madrid was taking care of Valencia 1-0, and they got a couple other late goals. Benzema got one, and Marcus Asensio, and they were able to take care of who did they play? I don't know. I don't have it open here. They were able to take care. Valencia 3-0, and they were able to take care of them. While Real Sociedad lost 2-0 to Alaves, and both teams were down to 10 men in that one. So I'm a minute over my time, so that's not too bad. But I was excited for this interview this morning. He had time to join me then, and when Rick Dhaliwal tells you that he's got time to talk, then that's the time you take. So I was really excited for this interview. So I'll have Lee cue this up here, and I really hope everyone enjoys this Canucks talk as much as I enjoyed talking to Rick this morning. Here we go then.
All right.
Well, Rick, thanks for joining me. Let's do this.
No problem.
Did you end up getting to go golfing yet?
Golf has been, last week it rained and rained and rained. It was so disgusting in Vancouver last week. But you know what? It turned the corner, and hopefully for the next 2 months we don't see rain again till September, October. But definitely going to get out golfing. I got a couple of buddies that want to get going here, so we're just setting up a date right now.
Beautiful. Love it to hear. So I listened to you this morning, and you were talking to the boys with Drance and McClutch. And you're saying there's no way that Markstrom gets signed for under $6 million.
Well,
is that what you're hearing?
Look, the markets change, things change. I've always felt that Markstrom, his ask could be over $6 million, and I always get the feeling the Canucks or in the 5 range somewhere. So there's work to do. It doesn't mean that they're not going to get it done. It doesn't mean that they are, but there's a gap because they started holding talks back in October, November, in December, and they couldn't get a deal done. So we do know there's a gap there, but we also know that with Markstrom, Toffoli, and Tanev, the Canucks are a compliance buyout away, or a big trade, to relieve, to make some room on the cap, or you bury a one-way deal in the American League. Look, let's find out before we, start predicting if Markstrom, Toffoli, and Tanev are going to be back. Let's see what the salary cap is going to be for next year, and then go from there. But I think Jim Benning has told the agents for Markstrom, Toffoli, Tanev, and also I'm going to throw Nikita Triumkin in there too. I think he's told all those guys that let me find out what the cap is, and you know what, then we'll go from there.
You got to think it's going to be somewhere around the 83, 84 million mark.
Well, depends. If they can get hockey going again, and we don't know if it's 100% done, if they can get it going again, and it'll help. But if you don't play hockey this year, boy, oh boy, the cap's going to suffer for maybe not just 1 year, maybe 2 or 3 years. So the biggest thing right now, Joshua, for me, is there's so much uncertainty. There's just wild predictions, this, that. But until we get some clarity on the season, until we get some clarity on the cap, is just a lot of guessing right now. There's a lot of guesswork. But obviously the Canucks would love to do Markstrom, Toffoli, and Tanev, bring all 3 back. That's a no-brainer. But those guys are all pretty significant hockey players who are probably going to look for term and, a pay raise, which if you're you work hard all your life to become a UFA, Joshua, and when you become a UFA, you don't take a pay cut and you don't do a 1 or 2 year deal. You try to go get term and you try to go get market value. I think all 3 of those guys want market value, and I think they want term, and I think they put themselves in a position to get that. But what's the market going to look like? What's the cap going to look like? Is there going to be compliance buyouts? So much uncertainty right now, it's not even funny.
No, I mean, you're talking about guys like Chris Tanev. I mean, he deserves a long-term deal. He's got to look at just next door to, at Myers and go, well, he just got a long-term deal at 30, and he's, for 4 years. So he's going to want that certainty too, right?
Yeah, but Myers was in a July 1st that was normal. We don't know what that free agent period is going to look like, Joshua, for these UFAs. What's the cap at? How much is COVID going to play in this? And how many, are teams not going to give long-term deals out because they're worried, about the ramifications of COVID? But you're right. Tanev, if you look at him, 10-year vet, top 4 defenseman, he probably wants term, and he probably wants a raise. But by the same token, I always go back to Ben Hutton. When the Canucks didn't qualify him, his agent got a ton of calls saying, yeah, we could do 3-4 year deals. And then when he became an actual free agent, the market had dried up, and he ended up with a 1-year deal at less money. I mean, the rumor is that Hutton had a 3-year deal offer from the Montreal Canadiens. The Canucks made him a very good offer at 3 years to re-sign in Vancouver. So the market, it does dry up, and sometimes for certain players, like for Markstrom and Toffoli, I got to tell you this: Markstrom and Toffoli, I don't see those guys taking a hit. There are going to be certain players that are going to have to take a hit because it could be a different market for sure.
Yeah, and talking about different market, Rick, you're talking about kind of like Reid Boucher and what he might do in the AHL, and also kind of what the AHL might even do. I mean, there's an uncertainty too that we have to talk about, right?
Oh, the American Hockey League is a big question mark. Reid Boucher, when I talked to his agent 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, he had mentioned to me that what the plan is to not go overseas and re-sign in North America. And here we are, 4, 5, 6 weeks later. And about 10 days ago, he started getting calls from Russian teams. And he signed with Omsk Avangard in Russia today, a 1-year deal. The Canucks gave him permission to get out of his current contract because he's still an RFA with the Canucks, so he had to get permission. When I look at the uncertainty of the American Hockey League, that's why Reed Boucher went overseas. We don't know when the American League is going to start next year. One of the reasons Jack Rathbone has not made a decision so far today is because he doesn't know when the American Hockey League is going to start. If Rathbone says yes to the Canucks and he signs, and the American League doesn't start till January, and the Canucks don't start till later, and so what does he do for 4, 5, 6 months? Just sit at home? So the uncertainty of the American Hockey League is certainly causing a lot of players and agents headaches right now. That is for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely see some shakeups in a lot of markets as well as for that. So what do you, I mean, a couple other guys. What do you think about Levo, Josh Levo, and Troy Stecher? What do you think the Canucks are going to do with those guys?
Well, Josh Levo, it sounds like, I mean, a broken kneecap, that's a pretty serious injury. It doesn't sound like he's close. And if the Canucks were to ever start their season in, let's say, early August or late July, the early word and the feeling is that he may not be ready. But that's a pretty serious injury, a broken kneecap. Not many players get that, but that hit from behind he took, boy, oh boy. Troy Stecher is an interesting case because he's an RFA. He's a guy that's got arbitration rights, so he could take the Canucks to ARB. See, he's in a similar boat as Ben Hutton was. Yeah. When you got arbitration rights, and if the team thinks that you're going to get a significant raise in arbitration, then they probably won't qualify you, and they'll probably try and get you at a new deal at the same price as your old deal, and maybe give you a little bit more term. I think Troy Stetcher's in the same boat as Ben Hutton. I think that if he takes the Canucks to ARB, he would get a decent raise. And I think the Canucks are, because that's where Nikita Triumkin comes in. If you can get Triumkin on a 1-year deal for 2.5 or whatever, then somebody's got to go. What happens to Troy Stecher? That's a big unknown right now. But I know they like him, but it's also every dollar and cent counts right now. But when I look at Troy Stecher, I wonder if they would qualify him, or wouldn't qualify him. And if they didn't qualify him, would they just try and say, okay, can you come back at the same money, but we'll add more term or something to that effect? But I see a lot of parallels between Stecher and Ben Hutton.
Yeah, I mean, I do too, and I could also see them doing the not qualifying him and then saying, hey, do you want to come back at 2.35, and we'll maybe kind of sweeten things up a bit. But it's gonna be hell if he walks again. Like if they let somebody else walk and don't get anything for him when they could.
Yeah, well, the only guy that could walk and not get anything for him would be Toffoli, because you gave up a second-round pick and gave up Tyler Madden. And, if he doesn't re-sign, then that's a lot to give up for a guy for what he only played 10 games, but he was such a wonderful fit, Toffoli, that he just absolutely, I think a lot of people in this city, and I think the Canucks obviously would like to redo him. He's a nice top 6 piece. He was so good in his short time in Vancouver. But again, and Joshua, we keep coming back to this. There is so much uncertainty, and there's so many coulda, woulda, shouldas. If, but it's we're really going to have to wait. Is there a compliance buyout coming? That would help the Canucks, really help the Canucks. But we don't know if that's going to happen, and only time will tell.
Yeah, they got a fair bit of bad money on the books with Eriksson, Sutter. I mean, the fourth line, Marcel and Beagle. Like, I mean, I love the guys, but $6 million for two fourth line players.
Yeah, and the guy in the fourth line that makes sense is Tyler Mott. He's making $1 million, and and Travis Green loves him. He kills penalties. He works hard. He's a fast skater, and the guy on that fourth line that isn't overpaid is Tyler Mott. And you're right.
This year,
right? Other fourth, Tyler Mott is an RFA. I see no issues with the Canucks re-signing Tyler Mott. I think Travis Green is a big fan of his.
Yeah, I like Tyler Mott too, especially just under $1 million there. So, I mean, to talk about Travis Green, you were mentioning that he's pretty keen on his players showing up in shape.
Yeah, and it's easy to say, Joshua, show up in shape when a lot of the players, couldn't go to a gym or on the ice for, literally 2.5 months. But listen, Travis Green talks to his players every week and checks in with them. I don't see a major, I don't see 5-10 guys showing up not in shape. I see, and the European guys like Pedersen and Markstrom and Eriksson and Fantenberg, I see those guys. They've been on the ice. Oli Levy, they've been on the ice for weeks. So I think those guys might be in better shape than the North American guys. But I expect everyone to come in shape. And I think that Travis Green has set a culture that where these guys got to be accountable on and off the ice. And I think he comes in. The other thing is the Black Aces, whoever they are, they could be more important this year. Because I think when hockey returns, you might see a lot of groin injuries, and you might see a lot of groin injuries. You might see a lot of muscle injuries early. And those Black Aces, those guys got to be in shape too, because they might be pressed into duty. Because I don't think it's a wild statement to say you're going to see a lot of injuries early if hockey returns.
Well, I mean, and that's why the NHL kind of added some more roster spots too, because I mean, I think they assumed it was going to happen too. But I'm curious to see is even if these European players are even going to be able to make it back, and in what sense are they going to have to quarantine?
Yeah, that's all being figured out right now. I know the European players for the Canucks, especially the ones in Sweden, they're kind of stuck right now. They don't even know where the Canucks camp is. Is it in Canada or the U.S.? They don't even know that. But if the Canadian government ever lifted that 14-day quarantine period, that would be huge, because then the guys can come to Vancouver, start working out right away. So there's, like I said before, never have I called so many hockey people and they say to me, I don't know. I don't have an answer. Very uncertain time right now, and there's just not a ton of clarity, and that's causing a lot of problems. And that's why a guy like Reed Boucher, because of the lack of clarity, packs up his bags and says, hey, I'm going to go to Russia for a year, and why not? Because I have no idea when the American Hockey League is going to get going, and so I'm going to pack up and go, and he's off to Russia.
Could you see it as a trend with more American Hockey League players? Because I mean, you were saying
first of all,
Rathbone might do it, but
yeah. Well, that Rathbone's are you talking about the trend to go to Russia or the trend to, because the Russian teams can't sign 10, 15 Americans and Canadians. There's a limit. And so that way I don't see a huge trend. But Reed Boucher was literally one of the top players in the American Hockey League last year. He was going to be wanted, and he had a great year. And with the Utica Comets, never got called up by the Canucks, and I got to give him credit. And you talk about character, and he never complained once about the Canucks not calling him up. Bailey got called up, McEwen called up. Those guys, Goldie got one game, Berchi had a few. But you know what? At the end of the day, he's got to put food on the table for his family, and he got a 1-year deal. The thing about Rathbone is just the backup plan. If I go to the Canucks camp and I don't make it, where do I play? So I can honestly say to you, there's a lot of agents and a lot of players just in limbo right now, because there's just not a lot of clarity right now in hockey.
It's a hurry up and wait time, eh?
Well, it's the unknown. There's so much unknown. Like, there's so many things that are unknown, and the Canucks would love to know what the cap is. They would love to know if there's compliance buyouts, and then they can quickly, sign to Foley, Markstrom, and Tanev. But they can't, because there's a ton of questions in hockey right now. There's not a ton of answers.
What do you think Reed Boucher 27, he's over a point per game player in the AHL. Why do you think it never stuck for the big team?
Well, you have to – here's the thing about hockey. You don't get 500 million chances. There's a window for every draft pick. Reed Boucher was a high draft pick. There's a window for everybody. When you get drafted in the NHL, you sign a 3-year contract if you sign. So after that 3 years, they decide if you get more, or they cut you loose, or some draft picks don't even get signed. They're free agents at 20. there's a window, and every year that goes by, teams draft 7 more players, and all of a sudden there's, new media darlings. You look at Pod Colson and Hoglander, and you look at them, and everybody wants them in the lineup, and hey, there's the new shiny toy. You don't get 30, 40 chances at the NHL level. At some point, you got to, and Reed's been called up by the Canucks, and he doesn't, when he gets called up, he doesn't get a ton of ice time. And to be effective, those top 6 players need a ton of ice time. He's getting that ice in the American League, but some guys were just born to play in the American League. Some were born to play in the East Coast Hockey League. Some were born to play in the NHL. It's an age thing, like you mentioned. He's getting up there, but it's also, when you get that opportunity, when you get called up, you got to do something with it. But Reed Boucher is an excellent American Hockey League player. He's going to do fine in Russia. And all of a sudden, the Canucks are starting to get, some good young forwards who are in the top 6 who are going to be here a long time. And opportunity is not always there year after year after year.
No, it's exciting to see some of the top forwards that we actually, have, like you mentioned. Yeah, like we see our new shiny toys, and people forget about the Petra Palmus of the world and all those other guys, and the Reed Bouchers. And
well, right now, Pod Colson is the guy that everybody loves, but Pod Colson is a guy that, and rightfully so. He's going to, one more year in Russia. He'll probably be the captain of that Russian World Junior team under Igor Larionov, and then the following year he'll be in Vancouver, him and Hoglander. But we've learned a lot about draft picks over the years. The Canucks have taken a lot of guys in the first round. I mean, I go back to Hunter Shinkaruk, Jordan Schrader, Brendan Gaunce. These were all first round picks that had a tough time, that eventually left Vancouver. So a draft pick is a draft pick. And his prospects are prospects until you earn that role in the NHL, and then you go from there. But the Canucks do have, thanks to picking high and finishing low in the standings, picking high in the draft, the cupboard is full of very good prospects.
Which is nice to see, but the bad thing is they're all going to need money at some point.
They got to make it first. And before you get the money, you got to make it. And that's where not everyone does what Pettersson and Hughes and Besser have done. Come out of college. Those two come out of Sweden and become top 4 defensemen and top 6 forwards. It's really unheard of what these 3 have done, and they've really accelerated Vancouver's shift into the upper echelon of the NHL. And the big reason is Pettersson, Besser, and Hughes. These guys, stepped into top 4, top 6 roles, and a lot of guys, a lot of high draft picks don't, need. Well, you got to look at Jake Virtanen. He's taken a few years, and he's going to get there, and he's getting there. 18 goals this year, but he's taken, Ole Levy's taken his time. Jake took his time, but those 3 didn't take their time. Besser, Pettersson, and Hughes became impact players right away.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rick, thank you for joining me and taking the time to chit chat some hockey. I know you're a busy guy and you got a busy day, and so yeah, thanks again.
No problem. Anytime, buddy.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Rick Dhaliwal. Might be having a little bit of technical issues right now, but hopefully that doesn't affect things going forward. Want to move into my next topic, which is the Vancouver Whitecaps. And on Tuesday morning, I was off getting my haircut, as everyone can see, I hope, anyways. And my phone just starts buzzing with the news that they had released Mark Panas, I guess is the word for it. And Axel Schuster would be taking over the role of CEO along with his sporting director role. So that was a little bit of a shockwave for everybody. They held a press conference shortly after, and it kind of left more questions than answers. Only thing I really took from it were that they weren't cutting costs for some reason, and they wanted one voice. that they valued that, but the team was a think tank. It was a lot of crossed wires on that one. So I didn't really know what they were doing. Like I said, I was trying to get Axel on the show today. I wasn't able to, but I definitely could feel that we're having some animosity amongst Whitecaps fans and supporters. So I asked Peter Simmerman, who I've been told I'm butchering his name, but I'm very good at that. So he's kind enough to be joining me. Now Lee's going to bring him. Hopefully he was in the waiting room before, but like I said, we are having some technical difficulties, so he'll be still. Oh yes, he is still there. Peter, thanks for joining me.
Hold on.
That's okay. I'm having some technical. I don't even know. I don't even think these headphones are doing anything right now. So.
All right, I'm good. I can hear you.
You can hear me. Thanks for joining me, Peter. How are you? How's the family? How's the lady doing?
Things are good. I'm actually finally back at a work office, so we are not killing each other during the day at home because we're both working from home. But
you don't have to be her get her coffee and do all that stuff anymore.
No, I never really had to do that.
You just did it because you wanted to. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, Peter, I'm happy that you joined me. Like I said, I was really hoping that the Whitecaps, Axel was going to join me, or somebody from the Whitecaps, to kind of hopefully clarify things a bit for everybody. But they weren't able to. They're busy, I guess, putting out fires. So thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I will be able to answer any of your questions or concerns, or even address them. But yeah, it's they sure should be busy.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I don't really want. The only questions that I have for you, Peter, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of animosity and unrest with even some of the most loyal supporters right now.
Yeah, things are looking pretty grim when it comes to the fan base. I mean, literally, I have not seen a single positive note on this change, and it's kind of troubling because even in the past, when there were scandals and problems, and there were at least some sort of argument back and forth on whether it's wrong or right. I have not seen a single thing said by anybody, and obviously the front office is silent for now, so they're just doing probably their scheduled stuff, and nothing really. They are not reacting yet, which may be probably for the best. But I think there are a lot of things brewing. I've seen some hashtags which are suggesting the owners to sell the Caps. So yeah, things are definitely awry.
Yeah, that's what I've been seeing too, and I was trying frantically to hopefully get somebody on from the organization to try it, because I mean I was part of the Zoom conference on Tuesday, and it really left more questions than it gave answers.
Yeah, I didn't really have a chance, based on what I heard from people who actually watched through it, and then just the reports on it, where basically nothing was said, which is kind of what the problem is, which was supposed to and was fixed by Mark, was that those things didn't happen before, this year, right? There was always some substance, and nobody kind of left the room, looking around what just happened, maybe because it was something really good and we didn't expect that those good things to happen. But yeah, so I think that's kind of what it is. He was brought on to fix things, and now those things are basically unfixed by his leaving, and it's just, yeah.
It's got to be frustrating. I know it's frustrating. I mean, I'm a fan first and foremost, and then I have my fancy media stuff after that. But it's frustrating for me. I mean, I couldn't even write. My producer was like, why didn't you write about the CEO? We didn't even know that. I was like, well, I just went to bed.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Like I feel like a lot of work. We put in a lot of work to supporting this team, and we'll probably will have to. It's just getting worse and worse, and then it's like you don't really know who to appeal to, and for those changes. But basically, we're coming and we're happening, and now we are kind of limited to the hopes of Axel carrying this on impossible role, double role. Like it's really given the changes coming, and then the structure he had to build on the sporting side. Like that's not going to go away, and that's still going to be a lot of work. And we haven't really heard of any other like changes in that structure. Right. So like I trust our MDS and Axel, but I think that this might actually consume them, which is going to be detrimental to the actual, the players and the soccer, what we are also eager to wait and watch.
Yeah, that we're waiting for on July 8th, but like and 9th and 10th, that we're, like I was saying earlier in the show, I wish I could be talking and breaking down the Whitecaps group matchups.
Yeah, that would be
look,
nice.
You know what, Peter? This is my show, so let's talk about something positive. Okay, so me and you, we went down. We were in a big van with a bunch of other people. We went down for the Portland game, for the preseason game. What did you like about the Whitecaps this season? What did you like about the on-pitch stuff? Let's talk about some positive stuff, okay? Because I know that I'm going to get off here and I'm going to look at social media, and it's going to be Sell the Caps is trending in Canada, not just Vancouver. So let's talk about some fun stuff.
Oh, you're trying to make me remember all that stuff. I managed to get pushed off my head during the quarantine. Yeah, now you reminded me of how I don't remember much, but like I do, Mark, MDS has given players. I think he finally, based on the little bits of pieces we've seen, like there is a style of play which is coming. He has the players. It looks like actually in a way the quarantine I think is gonna oddly help the team like chemistry in a way, because now they're like super happy to be together, and then hopefully they learned all the tactics on paper just like you learned the playbook and they will just like that put it on the pitch. But I think we have a solid striker. We have like I think we have all the pieces, and I think now we are actually lucky because Godoy's injury is done, so he's healthy, and so he was really missing, if from what I remember, and I think that's what they can build on. I know they're like still in a hunt for a couple of players, and they will have to do that basically constantly over every single trading window, because that's like the league is growing in that way. So you actually have to improve players every single transfer window in the future. So yeah, I think we have a good crack. Like it's really hard to tell whether we have a good crack in the Orlando tournament or not. It's almost like a crapshoot with like, yeah, if I was a betting man, I would not bet on that tournament at all. Like you have no idea. Like it like somebody could get infected and then that team is out, right? Like things like that. So I think if we make it past the group, anything can happen because it's a World Cup style, right? So it's like it's like there are not really death groups, a group of deaths really, and it's MLS, so it's really balanced. So I'm actually looking forward to some interesting matchups, and once it gets to the playoffs and the elimination part, I think it's going to be fun to watch if we find places to watch. And then I'm looking forward to see the players actually like continuing on that progression with MDS is drawing on the board.
Yeah, I don't think it can come soon enough right now for all of us people here in Vancouver. I mean, it doesn't look like we're going to get answers. And as you were mentioning, using the transfer windows and stuff to looking for new players. Axel actually mentioned in the media availability that they would not be looking for new players during this pandemic. They have their head scout, I guess, director position. It's all set, and they were ready to finalize things, but they are again waiting for the pandemic to be over before they finalize the head scouting position. So it might be a little while till we even get new players here in Vancouver.
Oh my! I did not know that.
I don't think a lot of people did, because
that's disappointing in a way.
Yeah, they're mentioning a lot of the things. I mean, like I said, it was the interview and the media availability was just. Thankfully, my video was off, so they didn't see me just going like this the whole time. But I don't know what Mallet was talking about. He repeatedly said that we were in a pandemic and 100 days and it affects things and all this. Okay, man, just say it's a cost cutting move. It's okay.
Yeah, that would make it. At least that would be a reasonable explanation, and to probably has some truth to it. Like, definitely has some truth to it. Like, he did complain about losing money. Like, the league complains about losing money. We all are sort of losing money, and like people are like understand that. Like, this is exceptional, and like not hiring the head head scout, right? Like that's a money decision. Like, and just don't say it outright that it's not. Like, it's like it is part of it. Like, no matter what you say, it's part. Like, finances are part of it. This is part of the business, right? So
yeah, like they almost think that like nobody's stupid. We're not like looking at this being like, oh, really? You're not losing a lot of money? Like, another thing, like one of the good things that I actually want to highlight from the Whitecaps is Mark DeSantos was talking about. He was on TSN radio a couple days ago, and he was talking about just the initiatives that the Whitecaps are going to have to be putting in for the players' families. Like,
yeah, like. They talked about that we had a town hall on Monday for season ticket holders, and they talked about it, and they are really taking care of our not just the players, like the whole club. Like, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, so like it's okay to say something like that. I mean, I know you're going to get the pushback because it probably should have been Rachel Lewis or Greg Anderson that maybe were the ones that got their job amalgamated into another one, but. I like my media credentials, so we'll save that one for another time, maybe, Peter.
Yeah, I don't think I would have anything to use that one, but yeah, like we don't know. Like that's the thing. Like, we don't know what happens in the club. Like interacting with staff, like as limited as it was over the past, like since the whole thing broke down. It was interesting, but like not much, and you don't know what happened behind the scenes, and not having even a hint at it is just annoying. It's like, that's the kind of thing what like people need. Like, you need to be able to feel like you belong to this thing and you're part of it. And like, I don't feel like I'm part of it anymore, really. Like, things are happening, and yeah, there is soccer, and I will enjoy the soccer, but I don't really enjoy anything outside of that. And there is not even soccer right now, so there's that.
And if anyone knows who Peter is, or if anyone's familiar with the Whitecaps, or if any of my buddies that I've dragged out for Whitecaps games, I've made sure to introduce him to this guy, because he is a Whitecap supporter, and for him to just feel lost and not informed, and I mean that's just ridiculous.
It's not easy.
No, Peter, I feel for you. I mean, I can't even. I've messaged Nathan probably 347 times, and that's just Nathan. So in the last day and a half, trying to figure everything out, and I'm not getting anything. So I'm hopeful for just some June or some July 9th, 8th, 9th, 10th MLS Whitecaps football.
Yeah, I think like one of the things is like they might chalk it up. Oh, it's just a Twitter thing. Like, people are just complaining on Twitter, but like I don't think that's like. I think people are actually canceling their tickets.
I think they are too.
So maybe that will send the message, and they will at least react to that. I don't know, but yeah.
I told them I would like to bridge the gap a little bit because there's some unrest, and I could see it on Twitter. I mean, I follow a lot of the Whitecap supporters and fans, and there's a lot of it's not good.
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay away. Like, that's why I missed your messages. I'm trying to say, like, hey, I need to focus on my work. This can consume you easily, and Twitter is not an easy place to begin with. But yeah, it's tough.
I think it's spilling over everywhere into Facebook. I mean, I did even then. So I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, but hopefully we can get back to doing some road trips here whenever everything clears up, and we can maybe get together at Doolin's and grab a beer and watch some Whitecaps.
Yeah, Dublin Calling just reopened, so I think that's where we're going to watch the there's no Doolin's, so you didn't. It wasn't the misname, like but like we're gonna be able to watch the games there, the Orlando tournament for sure. So I'm looking forward to that.
Beauty. Well, thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy. You're busy at work, and you told me you didn't want to check your Twitter, and you're a smart person for it. So
thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the chat, man.
Yeah. Thank you again.
Bye.
And of course, that was Peter Zimmerman. So again, I'm butchering his name. He was trying to, before the show, like you said, he just got on Twitter last minute there. So he was trying to teach me how to say his name, pronounce it with a Hungarian accent. And I wasn't even going to try it. I'll just butcher it. It took me about 14 tries to get Manuel Faith's name right, which I can finally say. I can say transfer mark now too. So I'm really improving my vocabulary. Bundesliga. See how I said it there? And I didn't say Bundesliga. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I just want to thank everybody for joining me on the 7th episode of the Unnamed Sports Show. Hope everybody can still hear me good and in my audio, because things kind of screwed up a bit. Like I said, I have my headphones in for no reason because I can't actually hear anything from it. I think my microphone actually might have died, which sucks because I paid a lot of money for this thing. But right now it's just a prop. So I'm moving it there, but you can still kind of hear me. It's because I'm talking to my computer. So make sure that you like and subscribe to the Sports Talkline YouTube channel, as we always say. I want to thank my guest again, Rick Dhaliwal from TSN. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you this morning about hockey and some of the Canucks' dilemmas in regards to their salary cap. I hope that they sign Toffoli, Tanev, and Markstrom, like you said, as well. So I also want to thank my guest, Peter Zimmerman, whose name, again, I butchered, for joining me from the Vancouver Southsiders, who is one of the main Whitecap supporters groups, along with Rain City Brigade and Curva Collective and South Sisters. I don't want to mention them all here. Prawnsiders, and give some love out to I have their there it is. I'm going to give them some ultra love right here. So to Couch Ultras. Ultra love. See how I said that? So give some love out to them. So thank you again for joining me. You can follow me on Twitter at JoshuaGriffith0. And I really hope you enjoyed the show. You can check out the Sports Talkline website. Stories are kind of actually rolling through right now. Rado was kind of mad that he didn't get a, premier article at the top of the site, but we're getting lots of sports out. So you got to make sure to check that out as everything rolls back. We got lots of shows. Nate's doing his No Remorse Sports Show. Spinksy's got his NCAA show that is happening on Saturdays and Sunday in the Australia. So make sure to check that out. We got lots of hockey videos that are coming out. Lucas and Rado are pumping those top 10 goal videos out. So check them out there on our YouTube video. And pretty much just type Sports Talkline into Google or any social media site and you are going to find us. You can even type in the Unnamed Sports Show into Google and you will find this show that you're watching right now. So I'm pretty excited about that. That means you guys are watching it. You guys are enjoying it, which I love. Hope you enjoyed my guests. We'll have some great guests lined up for you again next week. I try and do this live, so I don't really know who my guests are. I can't tell you. But they're going to be good. So for the Sports Talkline Network, this has been the Unnamed Sports Show with your host, Joshua Griffith. And remember, love sports, all sports.